Howdy, Ayebawl here. Welcome to another episode of Factorio with Arumba's Angel plus Bod Moth Pack. So, let's keep on going with Angel Smelting, and let's set it up for aluminum, brass, and Invar. So let's start off with the aluminum. I made a copy of the lead and brought it down because brass and lead share the same pattern. So this aluminum needed a sodium hydroxide, which is a byproduct when you're making or when you're using the electrolysis to make chlorine and hydrogen. So I should already have a ton of that in storage right now. So I kind of changed the footprint a little bit by bringing the warehouse down so I could bring the whole system closer to the center. And I'm also going to copy only half of it so I can bring the first half and the second half of the aluminum process close together, basically eliminating that area where the oxygen, where the gas was from the blueprint that I copied over. There it is in its final place, in its final resting ground. So I just need to bring in the copper. I'm sorry, not copper, but bring in the coal and put that on one side of the belt so that those buildings have their fuel source. And then I'll have the robots bring in the sodium hydroxide for the other side of the belt. So I got some aluminum from up north where it's just stored in a warehouse from an overflow from earlier of the game. And I was just going to dump it into the new warehouse so it can start being processed and I can get a look at it. But I started doing the belts for it first. And then I ran into a spacing issue. I needed to move the belt over by one. So I didn't exactly save any time there. So I add the electricity to it, and the belt is hooked up to the warehouse. So I take a moment to take a look to see how the system is set up. And the requester chest did not have a high enough volume for the sodium hydroxychloride. So I set up to 500 and then started using 2 stacker sorters to fill up the belt. And then once that was the case, I dropped the requester chest to 200. So that takes care of the aluminum. In the next part, we will take care of the first step for the brass Invar. So brass needs zinc, and the Invar needs nickel, I believe. So we'll use Angel Smelting, and this is basically a copy of the copper. And we'll turn the top part into the zinc and the bottom part into nickel. So what's good about these two, their little differences is that both of them need carbon monoxide. So that takes care of the zinc. Then I will change all these factories to nickel. So I came up with an interesting way to input the carbon monoxide into the system without having to change the footprint. Just kind of weaseled it in. So the inputs are in the center. I just hooked them all up with the pipes, and then started using underground belt so that the pipes had enough room. Um, then both the zinc and the nickel meet up in the center. And I'll put a storage tank here and a pump. So as coal being here already, it should be pretty simple to just make the carbon monoxide, but I need purified water. And pretty much the only place that I have purified water is up north. So I figured it would be best to just make the carbon monoxide up north and just have the robots bring it down. Because either they were bringing down the purified water and I was going to make the carbon monoxide locally, or I can just make the carbon monoxide up there and ship the carbon monoxide down. Either way, it's going to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So one purified water creates one carbon monoxide. Right, so I'm going to bring the ore over. Zinc's on top, and then nickel was on bottom. So I got kind of lucky about the positioning of the warehouses on that one. Alright, so this system's good to go. I just need to get carbon monoxide. And I finally built a car and started utilizing it. So I noticed that this hydrous pump was red while all the others were green, so I was just kind of curious to why. I just figured it was a flow problem on the water input side. So I have a couple of blueprints for the carbon, and I'm just going to place one down and kind of clean up a little bit for the purpose of creating the carbon monoxide. And then I also still have to grab hydro plants and get that set up for the purified water and find a place for that. Also, the original blueprint that I have for the carbon was still using Mark 1s, and I went ahead and go ahead and utilize the higher Mark 3s that I have. So this particular one got upgraded. So the saline and the purified water outputs on the hydro plant were on the wrong sides. So by flipping the liquefiers to the left side and putting the hydro plant on that side allows the purified water to line up better. I also got lucky considering that the water source was directly right there, but I was kind of hesitant to tap into it because that particular line was mainly for the sapphirite flotation system, but figuring that the system was only on every now and then, I could tap into it and actually utilize those resources. And if it does become a problem, I'll just run another line or another water line for that one hydro plant. So I started building robot charging points, and I was going to put them near the pump pickups, basically where the requester chests are and the active chests. The robots are going to be flying mainly to those points, or the logistic robots anyways, moving all the steel barrels around. So I noticed that the slag got filled up again, so built another warehouse and relayed down the loaders. You know, by the time I actually get to the slag, I'm going to have to build a system that can just handle tons of it, because I'm pretty sure I've got probably over 1 million units of slag now, just sitting in warehouses. So hopefully that's enough carbon monoxide for the two systems of zinc and nickel. I'm sure it is, because not that much zinc and nickel is going to be used, or their corresponding counterparts, brass and invar. Alright, so in order to make the brass, all we need is copper. In order to make the nickel, all we needed was iron plate. So simple enough. I'll just grab a belt off the warehouses on the front line and send them on down. So I finally set up my upgrade planner to include the loaders. At some point, I'm just going to grab all the red belt and just go through the entire factory and make sure everything's red belt. I also need to get blue belt start getting created as well. But that involves lubricant and an extraordinary amount of gears to do so. So I will probably deal with that later. So brass is pretty much a quick, easy setup. Just going to go run 8 metal mixing furnaces, or 8 on each side, so 16 total. So right now I'm just trying to find a good final position for the brass. It's going to have 2 inputs, one for the zinc and one for the copper. The metal mixing furnaces isn't a fast process, so I'm just going to mix the lines. So the brass ended up being too close, so I wanted to push it back. Invar's made with the same buildings, so just had to make another copy of it, and then once the buildings got placed by the robots, go through and change them to Invar. And just had to add iron plate and nickel to the line. Once to hook up the electricity, both those should be getting made. Alright, well that's the brass and that's the Invar now. And just to make sure if zinc and nickel is ever needed somewhere else, I add those to the network. And the robots will be able to pick them up. Okay, so we've re-added aluminum, brass, and Invar back into the system. And I want to make sure that I have enough steel because I'm producing more than enough iron plate right now. So all the iron plate will go into the iron plate warehouse, and then I'll have a second or a line coming off to go feed into that steel electric furnace area. So that's going to be it for today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.